So in this video, I shall take you through how I apply nail polish to short nails. I've been doing a lot of work with my hands recently, and I had to file my nails really short in order to do the jobs that I needed to do. And sometimes, from time to time, you just have to do that. Rather than break a nail and damage the nail then, it's better to file them short to a practical length for the jobs that you're doing at the time. It doesn't do the nails any harm. In fact, it actually sometimes helps the nails because you're getting rid of the bit on the edge here, which has been through the mill quite a bit really from exposure to the elements for a long period of time. So like when you cut your hair, it actually does it a little bit of good to cut them back sometimes. So all these jobs have been done now, so I will be growing my nails back again. And I will be documenting this growth. So there will be a video at some point in the future, maybe in a couple of months' time, and I will just film it over the period it takes me to grow them to my ideal length. So you can see how long it took me to grow them and what the process was like. So make sure that you're subscribed and click that notification bell and select all, and you'll get an instant notification when I've listed that video. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to show those of you that are new to painting your nails and have short nails. Maybe you've had acrylic nails before and you've just taken off the acrylic and your nails are really in a bad way, and you've had to file them very, very short, and it's the process of growing them out. And if you're not accustomed to painting your nails, it is a little bit different to painting your nails with short nails. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to put out a video on the process of painting short nails. So with this video, I shall approach this in the same way that I have approached my other video on how to apply nail polish, take you through all the stages of what I'll be doing. And in certain points I shall be doing it in slow motion. I shall do it as slowly as possible, and I shall also slow that down so that it's in super slow motion for you, to make it easier for you, particularly for those of you that are newbies to painting nails. So the first thing to do is to prep my nails, and this is an alcohol-based nail prep. You can also use just isopropyl alcohol. This is 70% isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol, which I've put it in a small bottle. You can buy it in large size bottles, or like I say, alternatively you could buy a nail prep and wipe. Basically this is the same thing, it's just isopropyl alcohol with a bit of colour added to it. So either would be absolutely fine. Now for this you really want to get some lint-free wipes, which you can buy very cheaply off eBay or Amazon. I think this is a pack of say 350 for only just a few euros. They're very cheap, and because they haven't got, you don't want anything that have a little bit of fluff on it that you get onto the nail plate. I mean, you could use a kitchen towel, paper towel, but even that sometimes there's little bits of fluff on it, so this is pretty good really. And then you just saturate it in the solution and then just wipe over each nail. Try not to scrub backwards and forwards too much, because sometimes that can break up the wipe and you may get a few little bits on your nail. So I just give it one quick wipe over like that, and another piece for the other hand, because you don't want to be transferring any oils back on from the first hand to your second hand. And now you need to just rest your hands until that's evaporated, because the alcohol will evaporate from there. And the important thing now is not to touch the nail plate at all with your hands, because you will reintroduce the oils from your hands onto the nail, and that will prevent the nail polish sticking quite so well. While I let that dry, I shall go through the nail polishes that I'll be using today. So I shall start with 2 coats of OPI Natural Nail Base Coat. This is the base coat I always use. This is the best one that I've found. And I apply 2 coats because it just gives it a little bit of strength to the nail plate, and it means that if there's any places that you've missed on the first coat, that will be covered with the second coat. Now, a base coat is very important for 2 reasons. First of all, it helps the nail polish to adhere properly to the nail plate, as this is slightly more sticky and it really grips to the nail plate. And secondly, if you're using a darker colour, this should prevent it or help with the staining. If you're using, say, a red or a dark blue or dark green, they can stain the nails, and applying a good base coat should help prevent that, or at least ease it so it doesn't stain the nails as much. So today I shall be using an Essie polish. This is called Ladylike, and it's just a mid-toned neutral buff tone. Now, normally when my nails are short, I tend to wear light coloured polishes or sheer polish, sheer and light coloured polishes, because I don't think that dark colours look particularly nice on very short nails. As they get longer, I think the darker colours look nice on longer nails, but that's just by personal preference. So I thought I would go for a mid-toned polish because it's easier for you to see what I'm doing than if I was using a sheer polish. And then I shall use a standard Essie top coat, not a fast drying top coat, and I'll explain why a little bit later in the video. Basically, when your nails are very short, it's difficult to cap the ends of your nails because they're so short. And if you apply a fast drying top coat, it can shrink from the top here. It's okay if you can wrap the end of the nail, that prevents that from happening. But if you're just swiping it across the top and you're not capping the ends, very often it can shrink from the top edge here. So I'm going to use a standard slow drying polish, and I shall use just a drying spray afterwards. This isn't the same as using a fast dry top coat. It basically just contains a variety of different oils, which does help the nail polish to dry. Not as quick as a fast dry top coat, so you still have to be relatively careful, but it does speed up the drying a little bit. So that's now dry, so I shall start with the base coat. Now, I like to use an armrest like this one, but you can just use a paper towel, kitchen towel, and it's just something really just to rest your hand on. It makes life a lot easier, I find. You can still move your hand around like this, but it gives you a support for your hand. So first of all, I shall show you how to load up the brush. So as you take it out of the bottle, I wipe the top end against the neck of the bottle, and then just a little dab, just to take that little bit off the underside of the brush, and then apply it this way. I find by doing that, it leaves just about the right amount on the brush. So I always do a little dab like that, and then go back in up to the cuticle line and pull back. Now, this is a little trick that I've discovered that puts just about the right amount onto the nail. The little dab just puts that little bit there, and then when you apply the polish properly from the cuticle, it just glides, it helps it to glide over the nail plate. I did this quite a long time ago, I discovered this, and it really does work. I always use this method when I'm applying nail polish now. particularly when you're using a coloured polish rather than the base coat. But it works just the same for the base coat as well. It's quite a good habit to get into. It just applies just a perfect amount for the nail. Now you'll notice that I'm not capping the ends. This is because the nails are so short, it's very difficult to do that without getting nail polish onto the skin. I mean, when they're a little bit longer than this, I could cap the ends and then I'll clean it up with some acetone afterwards. But these are really quite short at the moment, a little bit short for that really. So when they're this length, or maybe even shorter, if your nails are very, very short, it's much better just to apply it to the nail plate. Now your manicure won't last as long by not capping the ends, but it's actually it's a lot quicker to do your manicure this way. So just remove the nail polish when it starts to look a bit chipped and reapply it. When the nails are short, I find I have to reapply my nail polish possibly 3 times a week, whereas normally twice a week is about my average. But on the plus side, the more you're applying nail polish, the more experience you're getting. So it's all good practice. And you can rotate your finger as you do it so that you can get into the edges. Now for the thumb, I remove the cushion because that gets in the way, and I place my thumb on my first finger like so, and sort of hold it there because it gives it stability, and then you can rest it there nicely. And if you're a little bit shaky at doing the thumb, you can rest your little finger, your pinky, on the bottom underneath of your first finger, and then that gives you a little bit of leverage, like so. So that's the first coat on that hand. So now I shall repeat the process with this hand, and then this hand will then be dry by then. And then I shall apply the second coat, which is exactly the same process as I've done here. So I shall skip that bit and I shall pop back for the main manicure. So I've applied 2 coats to each hand now, and I shall just go through the loading up of the brush with the polish, just to refresh your mind. This process is exactly the same as with the base coat. Again, take the brush out of the bottle, wipe the top side against the neck of the bottle, and then I just dab a little bit there, and then it's ready to apply as usual. Remembering to put that little dab in the centre of the nail first, and then back down to the cuticle line, and then drag it up, and then drag it both sides. Now the first coat you want to put on fairly thinly. The second coat then can be a little bit thicker. So a dab, go back in and pull back. Up to the cuticle, but not quite at the cuticle line. Try and leave a little bit of a gap. That as a little bit close to the cuticle there, but it's a light colour, so I should be able to clean that up quite easily. So like that. So that's the amount you want to leave from the cuticle line, really. Because if it's a darker colour, then if it floods the cuticle, it's a nightmare to try and clean that off. That wasn't quite enough on the brush, so don't be afraid to go back to the bottle to reload. There. I have a nail fix on this nail, which is why it doesn't apply on this nail quite so well, quite so smoothly. Don't be afraid to take your time. Nail polish doesn't dry that quickly. So now while I wait for that to dry, I shall apply the nail polish to this hand. And although it's slightly more difficult doing a dominant hand, it's exactly the same process. So that's the first coat on both hands done. So now that I've finished this hand, it's time to go back to this hand and just have a look and see if I need to do any cleanup. Now I always do cleanup after every coat, particularly after the first coat. It does make it a lot easier to apply the nail polish for the second coat because you have a nice cuticle line to follow. So you then just go up to the line that you did in the first coat, and it's a lot easier to apply with the second coat then. So I should just briefly take you through my cleanup process. I do have another video that goes into detail, a tutorial that goes into detail on how to do the cleanup. But I shall just do a quick overview of it here, just to show you. Now, I use 100% acetone, which I've put in this pump bottle. So this is my little cleanup brush, and this is Kolinsky Sable rather than synthetic brush, because with the synthetic brushes the acetone will eventually degrade it and dissolve it, but it doesn't with the Kolinsky Sable. And this is a number 4. These I think are used for acrylic nails, for doing acrylic nails. This is a size 4, I think 4 or 6. I'm not sure if 6 was smaller or larger than the 4, but this is the one that I like. It's got a slanted end, which I like. It makes it a lot easier to use. It makes it more accurate to use. It's only quite a small head, so it's actually just perfect for doing what I want to do with it, for shaping around the cuticle line. I also use it if I get any nail polish on the skin, but it's mostly for around the cuticle line. So I need to get some acetone into the well, as you see here, and then saturate the brush. And then what I do is I just dab on the finger just once, and that just takes a little bit of the acetone off. So there's just about enough not to flood the cuticle with acetone, but just enough to gently wipe the bits that you want around the cuticle. This is particularly important if you've got a dark colour, because you don't want to flood the colour or it'll just drain into the cuticle area here and make a real mess of it. And then what you want to do is, load up the brush and then swipe once and then wipe it off on the paper towel. And then reload your brush, swipe again, and then clean up on the towel. So dab once, and then just wipe it off on the towel, more acetone, and you can, move your hand so that you can get to the corner. There, that's all that needs, just so that it tidies up around that cuticle line. And again. And with a light colour like this, you could swipe twice. But if you've got a dark colour, you want to just do one swipe and then clean it off. And clean it off really well, even if you have to get some more acetone and just rinse it and then wipe it off again before you reapply, so that you don't reintroduce that dark colour back to the cuticle and flood it. But with a light colour like this, you can get away with 2 swipes. And this is really just getting that beautiful curved line at the cuticle. And it looks so nice, when you've got that nice smooth line rather than a little bit jagged as it looks now. And, it makes it look so professional and neat and tidy. And I will admit I am a bit of a perfectionist. So no matter what colour that I use, even if I use a sheer polish, I still do this because I don't feel right unless I've done it. And it does look so much better. And then I should just check the top of my fingers. As it's short, sometimes you do get a little bit, as you can see here. And then just wipe that off. Again here, there's a little bit just there. There. So I shall now do the cleanup on this hand, and then we'll apply the second coat of polish. Okay, so this is now dry. By the time you've done the cleanup on both hands, the first coat will then be dry. So same process exactly as before, but you can do it a little bit thicker this time. And the second coat is much easier because you've got that nice cuticle line to go to. So I shall leave this dry for about 5 minutes, I think now, and then I shall do the clean up on both hands, and then I shall pop back and show you the results. So that's the final clean up done, and it's still a tiny bit tacky, so I shall leave that another 5 minutes before applying the top coat. And normally I always use a fast dry top coat because that makes life so much easier. It sort of dries the polish, several layers of polish, really quickly, and it means that you can get on with your life and do things without worrying about smudging or scratching your nail polish. But because I'm not capping the ends, if I used a fast dry top coat, it would be quite likely to shrink the polish from the edge here. Now, if your nails are longer and you cap the ends, this shouldn't happen. It does with some fast dry top coats. They still do shrink a bit, but the ones that I use don't. Essie Good to Go is a good one, and Poche can shrink sometimes on darker colours, but usually not on lighter colours. Orly Shining Armour is another good one, and I tend to prefer the Essies. This is Essie Gel Setter, which does dry fairly quickly as well. I don't really rate the OPI top coats. I've never found, even the rapid dry one, I've not found it very good. But Essie Good to Go, or this is Essie Gel Setter, they're both fast dry top coats. The Poche one is quite good, but it can shrink on darker colours sometimes. I suppose it depends on how soon you apply it after polish. Seche Vite is another one. That's a fast dry top coat. That's pretty good. But like I say, today I shall be using a standard top coat. This one by Essie is called Let It Shine. It's meant to be a long wear top coat, but as it is not a fast dry top coat, you need to be very careful for a while afterwards. Even though I shall use a fast dry spray, which does help to dry it a little bit quicker, it's still not as good as the fast dry top coat. And even with the fast dry top coats, you still have to be careful for about an hour afterwards. But they are a lot better than the standard top coats. For a long time, I struggled. When I first started doing my nails, I struggled with smudging my nail polish and getting marks in the nail polish where if you've done your nails and you go to bed and you get like sheep crease marks in your nails and things like that. It was an absolute nightmare until I discovered the fast dry top coats, and they really are a lifesaver. But like I say, that's not for when your nails are short. Leave that until your nails are a little bit longer and you can cap the ends. So with this, I don't tend to do the blob on my nails. I just load up the brush really well. Again, wiping it off the top side of the brush as usual, and just a tiny dab on the other side. But you want to get a bead, make sure there's like a bead of top coat, and then glide it across. Don't put any pressure on the brush as you push down. Just simply glide it over and then leave it. So without pushing down on it at all, just let the polish glide. And I shall leave this to dry for 5 minutes before I apply the top coat to the other hand. Okay, so that's the top coat applied to both hands. So I shall leave this to dry for 10 minutes before I apply the fast dry spray. So this fast dry spray is by CND and it's called SolarSpeed Spray. It just helps the nail polish to dry that little bit quicker. And it's basically just a combination of various oils. Spray from about this sort of distance. So that each nail is fairly saturated. And then what I do is just very, very gently just rub it in. And then I would leave this for about 10 minutes and then you could then apply some cuticle oil. So I hope you found that step-by-step tutorial easy to follow. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.